I might have to move my mic someplace. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it's on your beard right now.
Well, the problem is if it's here, I'm afraid every time I go to take a drink, you're going to hear it. Unless I remember to mute. So it's this whole dance thing. Or I could go, more cyborg, and I could move it up here.
Well, mine's literally like in my eye right now. Hi. Hey.
Oh, my. All
We
right,
are the Borg.
A little bit.
We will make you slay.
Nice.
All right. Well, are we ready to start?
I think so. I just wanted a little music in the background for the moment. Close that, close that, close that. All right.
I heard booty, booty, booty.
Well, yeah, because it's from the Charisma, Uniqueness, Nerve, and Talent song, which is so funny to me that it's like, you got to say all of it, because Lord help us if you abbreviate it.
The C-U... Oh, never mind.
Give me that trick one more time.
This is hitting me hard.
Bro, what were you doing?
I don't know. Just
I was like, what is that? Kitten with a yarn ball?
No, that's Kitten with Yarn Ball. This is just
Oh.
Just karate chopping the air. I don't know.
We're going to invent new dance moves out of this live show. You just know it.
Yes.
Nice. All right. We are posted. We are live. Are we ready to begin?
We are ready. So ready.
I'm going to be so fucking drunk by the end of this.
Good thing there's some water behind you.
You might want to create some rules. Like, I don't know if you're trying to take a drink every time there's shade, every time, like, you want to make a nasty
I will
comment.
have this whole fucking battle go on before we get to the second section.
Oh, dear.
Shade.
Well, then maybe you want to alternate. Like, water, drink, something. I don't know.
Still think no. Water, drink. Water, drink. water.
Call him Chester Winehouse.
Oh, my. Okay. Let's get started.
RuPaul Drag Race.
Hey, everybody. It's June 20th, 2017, and welcome to Cubs Out Loud Drag Race Tea Time Season 9, episode lucky number 13. We'll see about that. It's the Reunited show. And for those of you that aren't aware, I'm Gary, and with me are my co-hosts.
Hi, everybody. It's Damon.
It's Chester, and if anyone asks, my head's great, and they always ask for seconds.
And this week, we're joined once again by special guest host.
Hi, everyone. I'm the fan favorite from RuPaul's Drag Race Season 9, Valentina.
Oh, shit.
Well, we invited Brady to show up, but apparently Valentina decided to come along tonight.
Yes,
Well, we
thank
can
you,
see
my
her.
man.
Oh. All right, listen, we have some feedback before we jump into the latest episode from the season. On Facebook, Michael Q reached out to us and he said, "Hey guys, loved the episode." This is about episode 12. Just one note. I'm surprised no one mentioned that Sasha is the only finalist that never did a lip sync except for the obligatory one at the end of this episode. And then I replied and said, "Hey, Michael, thanks for the note. Perhaps we didn't consider the factor of whether or not ever lip syncing predicts the winner. Now I'm intrigued." And what I was referring to is I hadn't thought to look and see who has made top 2, 3, or 4 spots in all the seasons and didn't lip sync when they got there. Replied and said, "Right? Bob the drag queen never did a lip sync. Bianca Del Rio never did a lip sync. I'm just curious if there ever has been a queen in the history of RuPaul's Drag Race that has never done a lip sync and didn't win the crown." And then in parentheses, he wrote, "besides Willem, because of her disqualification."
And I can answer this. Thank you, Wikipedia, for making this very quickly. There have actually been 4. There have been 4 queens in RuPaul's Drag Race history who never did a lip sync and ended up and didn't win. And that would be Alaska in season 5, Courtney Act in season 6, Kim Chi in season 8, and now Sasha Velour.
That's right. Kim
Yeah.
Chi in Alaska didn't.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
And neither did Courtney Act.
Well,
They may have been in the
bottom,
3. But they were actually, I don't think they were ever in the bottom 2. In order to lip sync, you have to be in the bottom 2. So none of them, based on my Wikipedia, now look back.
Where are statisticians? I want somebody to run numbers on this to tell, like what kind of percentage we're looking at.
Oh my god, you're wanting way too much.
Well, you could do the math really quickly. You just have to take 113 divided by, or take 4 divided by 113, right? Math says. I took math in school, really. Come on.
113 divided by 4 would be about...
Nope, that's not right. Must be the other way around. I never did understand how to do division. 3.5% chance.
Yeah. Something like that. Actually, maybe 35. No, 3.5. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's so funny because I completely forgot about the other 3.
Yeah.
Not ever lip syncing, but
that's one of those ones. I knew Alaska because I remember because we talked about it when we were doing All Stars 2. That the first time Alaska's ever been in the bottom was during All Stars 2.
Correct, and that's when she had a meltdown.
Yeah.
And curiously or curiouser, she technically didn't lip sync then either, because it was the Tops that lip synced for their legacy, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh yeah. So
she technically has never, except for the obligatory ones, lip synced for her life on the show.
Interesting. So Professor Damon has spoken. That is class closed session for today. The answer is all queens have actually all the way without a lip sync. But we are here sort of unexpectedly to talk about episode 13. I keep calling it 13 because they're all numbered until you get to the finale. And then all of a sudden, we have this reunion thing. And it's not that reunions haven't been done before, but they are... I don't know. I guess I'm thrown off because people keep talking about how it hasn't been since season 3 that there's been a no audience reunion. I think is the way it's been talked about online, and I didn't bother to look that up to see if that's true or accurate.
No, that's right, because only All Stars 2 had since season 3 has had an actual reunion like this that's not been live. Because I believe All Stars 1 didn't even do a reunion.
So there's lots of things that All Star 1 didn't do, or season 1.
So, I do have a little clip before we get into thoughts on this episode because, in a way, this is what I thought was happening to me, so to speak, as I watched it.
And I said, why are you doing that? I'm tripping my balls off. You're bringing
Rue. My favorite thing of this episode, like non sequitur, is this is never going to make it to air. Or whatever she says. Like, they're not going to air this. Like, and I thought, oh, yes, they are.
They totally did. Like,
So she tells a little anecdote story about her and Lady Bunny used to get high back in the day. Shocker. For those of you that don't know, RuPaul Charles used to do drugs. She's more open about it now that she's older. She's also recovered. But it's too funny because she basically was like, because Bunny would make fun of her and she would say, why are you doing this to me while I'm tripping my balls off? Which is kind of how I felt during this episode. Like, I wasn't tripping, but it felt like it in a way. I was kind of not prepared. My feeling overall that this is the reunion to top all RuPaul's Drag Race reunion shows. The one that most people will always probably talk about. Because for the majority of it, or like, highest percentage of it, there are a lot of things to discuss. When I think back on other reunion shows, the only other time I remember, or two things I remember about other reunions, is when Ru goes off, when she gets mad. So everyone probably remembers when she and Ms. Brown,
Miss Tammy Brown, yep.
Miss Tammy Brown kind of got into it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember what the other one was. In both instances, Ru basically kind of puts on her big boy pants and says, listen, like, our job as judges is to give you criticism. Like, basically, end of story. That's how this whole thing works. It's a competition. We're giving you feedback. Like, don't be coming for us because you can't handle it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very interesting. And I always kind of tuned into that because I thought, she's getting fiery for a reason. And this time, this particular episode was more about the queens getting fiery with each other and not Ru. Ru was kind of more like the calm of the bunch. Now, I don't know if she took a Quaalude before they started recording, because she did seem just a little like reserved. And it was bothersome to me. It's not bad, but I could tell when she was reading the teleprompter, like in the beginning, and she's talking and stuff. And I was kind of like, oh yeah, this really didn't have a lot of time to like do rehearse, you know what I mean? Or prepare ahead of time, at least I think for Ru particularly. So I don't know exactly when they taped it, because of course the scripting says, it's a week before the finale, but I have a feeling it might've been the exact same day as the finale. Earlier in the day, potentially. I'm not sure. I would be surprised if they actually had all the queens out there for 1 week. Do you know what I mean? Like a whole week before the finale. Now, they could have, in theory, because they were doing a lot of press leading up to the fact that the finale was coming, but I don't know if that's quite the case. But for me, this reunion probably tops all of them because there was so much that got said.
Yeah.
And some looks, like, for the camera caught. God bless Aja and Pheromone, because they were doing a lot of things with their eyes and their faces in that case.
They pretty much became emojis.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Damon, what about you? What were your thoughts on this episode?
Bitches got real. Like, that's my one real thing about this. It's just there were so many things that were discussed and mentioned and poked and prodded at. Me and Jim were actually watching it together, and he was like, they're really kind of going at it, like at each other and everything else. And I'll kind of point it out. I feel like Shay and Trinity were big on, like, they were cracking a lot of like throwing some knives and casting a lot of shade with some things, but also being very, like, also having like these very questioning a lot of things that were being done. Like, they were calling things out, calling people out on shit. especially Valentina, Nina, Alexis. At some point, it was just all these things that they kind of kept on going, and it surprised me a little bit based on what we saw in the season, that now here we are in this Reunited, and I know it's been a while, and I know like we mentioned before in our chat, like, maybe they've seen each other, they've toured, they've worked together, they're doing all this stuff, so they know each other a lot more now than they did during the in the microcosm of the show. So I was very, very, very surprised that they got so real about it and not taking shit. Like, that was one of the big ones for me. So
yeah, the one thing that was very notable is everyone's behavior. That how they were in the workroom or around each other, because for most of them they were new to each other. They hadn't really worked side by side or collaboratively, and now let's say they wrapped in August of last year from when they were recording. So now we've got September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. Like, we're talking like almost 10 months, and that's a long time to be out and about and to work together in a different capacity, to be on the RuPaul bots tour, to be out there with Michelle, to be booking gigs, to be doing interviews, your host bar shows, I mean, just all sorts of stuff. And I get the feeling there's a lot of cross-pollination, like that the queens from this season and others are kind of like performing with each other, and some are hosting and emceeing. So the landscape has changed. It is no longer the little bubble that they lived in show when they recorded it. Now I feel like everybody has a real feel for each other. At least that's kind of what I thought was getting expressed. So I think that Trinity and Shay were basically wearing their no bullshit panties. For lack of a better reference, I really felt they were kind of like, I'm not going to deal with or operate under, or maybe they're aware of how there is all this machinery about when the show gets put out there, that yes, it is edited and that it gets published and promoted a certain way. Now it seems a lot of the queens do live video, like talking about the show, either right when it airs or right after it airs or something, is the feeling that I'm getting, which is a whole new arena. So I'm like, I just think that time has passed and now they know each other. And so there's not the illusion is no longer necessary, so to speak. In that case, I don't know.
How about you, Chester?
Trinity said it best at some point during the show, and I think it was directed at Charlie. Yeah, it was directed. But it kind of applies to everybody in the show. If you're going to have an excuse, pick one, not five.
So fucking true.
So every time they would bring up I guess I want to say the four highlights out of the show, Charlie being kicked off, Nina and her paranoia, Valentina getting kicked off, and Eureka, which this part doesn't cover anything with Eureka. It's the other three. That when they went through and talked about what happened on the show with them, they all had some kind of excuse.
Yeah.
Charlie had 7 of them, and I'll get into those later.
7 seems like a specific number.
Because I counted them. Back and I rewatched the show and I counted them.
Oh dear.
You've got Nina, who is sitting there with people telling her to her face, we weren't saying shit about you. You know this because it's recorded. it's been aired. It's out there. And she's like, no, I don't believe you. You know what, bitch? Fuck you. Go.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, God, it for me, like those are the things like I really didn't like, and there's a couple things. Charlie, we read the article that you gave us, Chester, and I read that. I was like, oh, okay, makes sense a little bit. But then when you're confronted by the other queens, it did sound like an excuse. I get it. If you were in pain, I totally understand that, and that happens. But
see, that's what I'm saying.
Like, and that was the thing. Like, she knew it was the name of the game, and even RuPaul calls her out on it. Like, it's the name of the game. It's lip sync for your life. It's part of the deal. It's part of the package. And if you knew that's what you weren't going to do, then so be it. But one of the excuses that pissed me the fuck off was her saying that she was trying to play this, like, the song was Britney Spears and it was all about masturbation. So I was playing this whole like masturbation game. No, you weren't. Who masturbates like this? I want to know. Because if you do, we need to.
You've got a huge ass clitoris. I mean, for the record, if your fingers are pointing out and not in, then like the man in the boat is rather big.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So, but that was the one that really like got like that was a lame excuse. You didn't know the song. You didn't lip sync, and you said in your interview that girls in London don't lip sync, they sing live, so I'm not going to lip sync. If you had stuck to that, fine. It would have sucked. It would have been like, why did you come on the show? But I would have at least been like, okay, I get it. But then you go from that to the rib. I'll let you go through this later. I'm gonna let you go through this later. So it's just it bothered me to no end.
It was just when I was watching the episode and they brought up those specific three and everything that was going on with them, and you've got Charlie and his endless amount of excuses. And then they talk about Nina, and even RuPaul calls him out on it. Like, look, you're certain it couldn't possibly be paranoia? No. And then when they get to Valentina and asked her what's going on, what happened that made you perform your lip sync like that, and during the episode, she said that, she froze. It got into her head at that moment. But then during recap shows, hey, you know what? I never even bothered to learn the song. But then she goes back to her original story of she just froze when she was up there. It was just like, own up to your shit.
I love that Shay said, like, it was either Shay or Sasha. One of them said, like, the chorus is 7 words. 7 words.
And it couldn't have been that damn hard to learn.
I
did like, shortly after the show aired, somebody sent out a tweet that said something like, maybe with that $5,000 you can buy yourself Greedy on iTunes.
Nice, because she apparently she doesn't
think she needs to do that, but
I think what's funny is that everyone is just like gasping at the fact that Logo had an extra $5,000 to just give her. That's what is going on around Reddit.
But really, they always give the Miss Congeniality money.
Yeah,
they just never talk about it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I mean, they announce it when you get Congeniality that there's a cash prize that goes with it.
But they usually, I will say it's usually done during the show. Mm-hmm. So they don't make as big a deal. They usually do it during the finale. So it's like, oh, you Miss Congeniality. you get the little whatever and
Right.
Yeah.
da da da. So I get what you're saying, Brady, but I'm like, it's not new that they give money. So, but I find it funny that it became this big deal, especially on like Twitter and Tumblr and whatnot. I saw several things afterwards. So,
Oh yeah, it's my turn.
yes, your turn.
Wow. So RuPaul's best group therapy session is over.
Well, I'll say this. Maybe it still is a group therapy session. They're just not as friendly as they used to be.
Yeah, because they pretty much just let each other have it. I will say this much. I know that this particular episode is filmed after the actual finale episode. So that was confirmed. So there's a little bit of some animosity there for certain queens, but I also heard that they were a little bit liquored up, which helped with spilling some tea.
Well, that does explain things a little bit, that if they had some libations, that they would be a little looser in the lips. It also, I caught it second time, I felt that the looks that Peppermint, Trinity Shea, and Sasha gave were acted. When Rue makes the announcement that it's a lip sync for your life for the final four.
Oh,
spoiler alert.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I felt that the four of them, specifically Sasha's was the worst, was acted instead of authentic. And that bugged me because I was like, that reads like you already knew that this was coming. Or you did a second take or something. I don't know.
Lip sync battle royale.
Mm-hmm.
And if they'd been drinking, that explains why Eureka was so animated, because that girl kept like hogging for the camera to draw over to her, which was cracking me up, because I was like, really, Beetlejuice? Because I think that doesn't need to happen until you come back next season.
Beetlejuice.
Did you see what she was wearing?
I thought it was dragon. That makes so much sense.
What? It was black and white. It was stripes, and she had that green hair. I was like, all right, you look like you ate Bianca Del Rio from the Peaches Christ version. But yeah.
Oh Lord,
it's just
Beetlejuice.
so yeah, really. So Brady, was this an issue for you, that you felt that the group therapy session is over, like that?
Oh no, not at all. If anything, the only issue that I truly had was the fact that none of this shit was spilled during fucking Untucked. But I was so happy because this episode I was just left gagging. I was so happy I got to see some fighting finally, and it was nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Damon.
This is very much where people were like, when people were looking at season 7, like, where's the drama? Where's the drama? And I felt that way this season. There was some drama here and there, but you can't top certain seasons' drama. There's just iconic drama on RuPaul's Drag Race that is impossible to beat. But I agree with you, Brady, that this was the drama I think I felt was missing in the season.
I feel like it was the drama that was missing from the past 2 seasons. I feel like this made it up for me. I was like, yay, I love this now. Because I won't lie, the reason I started watching Drag Race was my ex at the time was like, hey, have you seen this yet? And I was like, no. He's like, it's really funny. Let's watch it. And I watched it. And like I was like, ooh, they are so catty and they're starting to fight. And I love it because I started with season 2.
Oh.
It was with Morgan and I can't remember her name now. She's really
Mystique
Summers. Mystique Summers Madison. Going at it. I'm like, okay, yes, this is what I like.
God, season 2. Now that's the season to remember.
It was a season to remember.
Wow. It's true. Well, yes, there was a lot of bitchiness, a lot of cattiness. I think at this point, especially those that are not in contention for the title, meaning what is that, like 10 out of the 14, felt at liberty to say anything most of the time, because now there wasn't going to be a penalty, which I'll get to that later on. But I thought it was interesting. So in the thoughts on the episode, I wanted us to actually take some time to talk about the controversy of this particular episode. But I've got a clip to go with it because it no end that this happened. Because someone has decided if there's going to be a National Enquirer queen, she's going to be it. She's going to open her mouth, she's going to say it, and she's just going to put it out there. And so yeah, I found it very interesting when this happened, to say the least.
Now the moment we've all been waiting for. Which one of these bitches have the fans voted Miss Congeniality?
I dedicate this prize to my mother. She taught me to always be kind and forgiving. So thank you to her. Without her, I wouldn't even be congenial.
What? Wait. No. Congenial? I don't want to be the one, but I'm going to be the one. I just don't feel like you should be Miss Congeniality.
Yeah.
Well. There's your drama moment.
Which won me a drink from Gary.
Yes, it is official. Brady and I had a bet going about 3 episodes ago. And he said he thought Valentina was going to win Congeniality. And I said, no, I thought I was going to go to Trinity. And then when I've watched the Reunited episode and I found out what happened, actually it was spoiled for me by Logo. Thanks. Because no sooner than the episode aired and was completed for that hour, they went on Facebook and posted congratulations to Valentina on winning Miss Congeniality. And I was like, really, you schleps? Like, okay, so now I already know. I haven't even seen it yet. And maybe that's expected because, we're down to almost the finale. But so I went and I watched it. And then when I finally saw what happened, and yes, she did get it, and she gets to keep it, then I was like, so I Brady a message and was like, so you won. I owe you a drink. But yeah, that's so here's the thing. I said about Trinity, this isn't so much about that Trinity had a lot to say about this because it's Aja who speaks up. But it starts this whole conversation and it went someplace that Ru was not ready for. And I was amused, like in an uncomfortable way, seeing how Ru tried really hard at the end of it to bring it back around, like to kind of put a bookend on what happened and what was going on and that they could move forward because the queens basically kind of took the whole thing under their own control. I thought that was pretty amazing and empowering that they basically, for the most part, a majority of them, I think, basically were like, and I don't think that was to Valentina. I think that was to Logo and WoW, World of Wonder, because what got called out ultimately was Aja was mad because Valentina is saying she's dedicating it to her mother. And I agree. A lot of people have kind of said the same thing. Just dedicated it to her mother and then like accepted it and shut her trap. Aja probably wouldn't have said what she said.
Yep.
But because Valentina wrapped it up in the end about how, that she, taught her to be congenial. And that's when Aja was like, wait, hold up. Hand in the back. Hello. Like, and she kind of, wanted to discuss about how she didn't think that that was appropriate. Like, basically what Aja was calling out, but it wasn't said this way, was the title is wrong. Don't call it a congeniality award because you're not congenial. Like, you shouldn't have won because you don't even know what the definition is. She didn't say that part, but I'm filling in a blank that I thought was there. And so it gets weird because then it kind of bounces around the queens, and Sasha is the one who says, you know, if it's a fan favorite, then yes, absolutely, Valentina wins fan favorite. And I was like, whoa, like we just basically rewrote what happened.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
So here's what I want to know. Is this the first time we feel this is exactly what happened? Because I don't think ever when congeniality was given in the past that anybody was going to debate congeniality.
I'm pretty sure that personal feelings have come into play, but I don't think any of the other queens have ever made a point to contest it.
I agree. I think
I
what
agree
is
with that.
I think what usually when I think of Miss Congeniality, I think you usually think of the girl who's, and I'm using this word, you think of the girl that's the most helpful and the most, you know, I'll use motherly in a sense, but also just is or has that arc of coming into the show and being a loner to come, you know, leaving the show at some point whenever they leave and having learned a lot about themselves and learned a lesson. Or they've been the one who has been just given us a lot of good things without necessarily winning. And I know that sounds, but I think that's what it means. Like they don't actually, obviously they don't ever win. They're usually not a winner. I don't know if that's how that happens or not. But it just really, that's what, when I think of it, that's what I think of. Like I think of that. You know, if you go through years past, it's been like Cynthia Lee Fontaine and Latrice Royale and Pandora Box and, oh gosh, I can't remember anyone else off the top of my head. Katya has been Miss Congeniality. You know, it's just one of those ones where this is the first season to me that the person who those qualities I felt were in didn't win it. And I think the reason is because one, Valentina has a lot of fans. And we know this. We've seen this all, you know, since her Lip Sync for Her Life, and even before then, like she had a lot of fans, and that I think plays a part in what happens. You know, when you think of like, I'll go through like season 2, and I'll think of Pandora Box. She had a lot. I think she had a lot of fans, but she also did really well on the show. She didn't win, obviously, but she did pretty good. And on top of that, she also seemed to be really kind of nice to most everyone. She had her bitchy moments, but she was pretty nice. And you go to Katya and Latrice, larger than life personalities that you shine to, you take a shining to. They really grow on you. Valentina just, when I think about her season, I think about her arc. Yes, there were a couple of moments where she was kind of nice and kind of cute, but the epitome for me of Valentina was her princess. She was this very pretty girl, but she was meant to be evil. Like she wasn't a good princess. That's what I think of when I think of Valentina. I think of this, like, I'm really pretty and sweet. I look really cute and I, you know, whatever. But in reality, I'm a bitch. Like, I'm a cold-hearted bitch. Like, and we see that in this episode
multiple times.
Yeah. So many times.
Yeah. So the one thing I want to say is, because I had to look it up a little bit, because I thought, well, maybe the queens are getting this wrong. But I mean, the reality is that congenial is typically defined, you know, as someone who's agreeable, pleasant, you know, that gets along, you know, a congenial host, so to speak, you know, that they have a pleasant nature, they're friendly, they're sociable, which is interesting because what Damon and I have kind of talked about when it comes to congeniality is we feel that goes to the person who's the most motherly, like the most helpful. That's why I kept talking about Trinity earlier, because she seemed to be the one who was willing to give the feedback, provide the help, kind of like Bianca did to Adore in their season. You know, someone who's there who understands, like, you know, basically it in our examples, it was the person who was older who recognized that, you know, this kid who's younger doesn't have as much experience or as many, you know, things or supplies or whatever. But I mean, it's interesting. So it also says online that, you know, in beauty pageants, such as the Miss America pageant, it's an award given to the friendliest contestant as determined by a vote among the contestants.
Yep.
Oh.
So that's an interesting point to make, that, you know, if you're supposed to be, you know, friendly, welcoming, amiable, so on and so forth, and it comes from your peers, then this award is really not what it ever was titled as. And that's where I think the Queen's self-titling it over again as fan favorite is very interesting, because that's technically more accurate to say that people go online and vote. I mean, Brady, you had said last week, I think when we recorded, you were watching the actual voting tallies, and that Valentina, I think you said, was the clear winner. Like, it wasn't like there was a second person that was kind of close. It was like, no, it's pretty much a guarantee or a lock that it's going to go to Valentina.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, oh, well, if you want to use, like, technically one of the, I don't want to call it premier, but one of the maybe standards of beauty pageants, granted it's not drag, but still, then that's interesting, you know, where they talk about that the contestants actually decide amongst themselves who among them gets it, because that's not what happens here.
No.
And that's what I think Aja is kind of like, I don't want to be that queen, but I'm going to be that queen. I was like, oh shit, here we go.
Yep. Huh.
So the reason I wrote Trinity is because I think by my concept of a definition, I was thinking of Trinity. But now that we have an unclear definition, do you know what I mean? Like, do we do what other pageants have technically done? Do we do, like, by technical definition of being congenial? I don't know.
And
go ahead, Damon. What are your thoughts on?
Well, like I said, I agree with Aja. All tea, no shade. I agree with Aja. Like, her, even, and I like the fact that she called it out, like, and called it out the way she did, because I agree. She shouldn't, if Valentina had left it at I dedicate this to my mother, done, I would have been okay-ish. You know, I don't think she was congenial. I just don't. I don't think she was. I think there are several queens on the show that could have won it, should have won it. But I agree with the cast that from now on, maybe we should call it fan favorite as opposed to Miss Congeniality.
They should, and I am going to laugh my ass off if next season that's exactly what they call it. And if Ru, I would love it if Ru actually points it out, saying, so last year, the Queens decided it's going to be now fan favorite, and that's what we're going to go with. If that's what they're really going to do. Particularly after she's handed the award, and then she gets acts the way that she does.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so there's only one moment in Reunited that actually gives me an insight to what I think is a more realistic version of Valentina. And the reason I say it that way is I think Valentina puts on a character. Like, Valentina is a character, so to speak. You know, I mean, technically all drag is a character, but I think there's many queens who, the way they are as a boy and how they are as a queen is more blendable. Like, there's not so much a distinction in black and white.
Are you saying that at a specific point in time that James Leva is the one who was speaking?
Look at you.
I had to look it up.
Yeah, I know, so did I. I kind of think so. I think that James came through at two moments, but the one was way more apparent than the other. So Farrah opens up and talks about how Farrah and Valentina were close on the show, but then she didn't hear anything for 5 months, and it really upset her. But I was wondering what was going on with Farrah because she seemed upset, but then she also didn't seem upset. And I think it was because she was sad but mad. Like, you know, she was kind of flipping between the two. Like, I'm upset because I haven't talked to you, and that makes me really sad, but I'm also fucking pissed at you because I don't know what the hell's going on with you. That was my interpretation of it. And so they kind of have a little bit of a back and forth. Valentina turns her back to her while she's holding the award so she can mug for the camera. That kind of annoyed me. I was like, really, girl? She's behind you in the back row. You can't face her. Like, look her in the eyes and have this conversation. I'm not sure what's happening here. So there's that. And then she gets the award. She goes and she sits down. And then Farrah says something, and Valentina says, "Shut up, Farrah."
Yep.
And in that moment, I was like, you lost me. No offense, you're a cunt. Because
That's exactly what I said.
If you're congenial, you'd shut your damn hole and you just look pretty. And you would just have a camera look at you, and that would have been the end of it. But no, you opened up a little bit and you told another queen to shut the hell up. So, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. No, that was not congenial in my opinion. I don't care what the fuck the definition is.
No, it was that was one of my big things. I was like, wow, you're a bitch. You're a fucking bitch. Like this one, like in this instance, you lost a lot of my respect for you. Not that I had a whole lot to begin with, but like in that moment, it was like, you're really gonna do that. You're gonna play that childish bullshit game at this point in time while holding the Miss Congeniality reward. You know, like really, like you're gonna do this right now. And not only that, but like the way she said it and the tone in it was like you obviously were that, like you said, that's definitely James coming out. That was definitely a like fuck you, basically, to Valentina, to Farrah. And you have this person who we saw it a little bit of it, that they, you know, closeness, what have you, whatever. And then you haven't talked to her. She calls you out on like you've not talked to her for 5 months, and you choose. I get it. Now is maybe not the best time to talk about it, but you know what? You're reunited. Shit's gonna come out. Shit's gonna go down. You should probably talk about it now. That's what they wanted everyone to do.
That's true. I mean, they did give Nina the floor, which didn't work.
Yeah.
They were like, because I mean, I thought that was pretty amazing that I think it was Alexis was like, or no, Kimura was like, girl, it's reunited. Let's do this thing. Like, you know, like, let's just get it out on the floor. Like, let's have this conversation, call it out, name names. Like, let's do this thing. And I was like, woo! I was like, I mean, that was another one of those like,
yes,
yeah,
I know. Because to me, that I was sitting there like, if she had really done, I really, God, I wish to God she would have done it. And I think the only reason she couldn't do it was because she had no proof, or she had no evidence. She had nothing. She had nothing specific. She just had paranoid thoughts, and that's it. So,
but it makes me wonder at the same time that maybe she has some type of mental illness, which made me slightly concerned, because I was thinking about that.
I've thought about that too, and I think she actually does. And I don't want to. I hate diagnosing people,
exactly,
but I really do think she does. Like I've seen. I'll just use an example. Okay, a perfect example. We saw her on the show. Then look at her makeup tutorial. Look at Nina's makeup tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot. Like I was looking through that, and I thought there was something odd going on. Like I don't want to put labels on things, but I felt like there was a manic episode here.
Right. I think that one of the things, I think, Damon, I don't know if you and I did it on a actual recap show, or we discussed it outside of it, that notably Nina's behavior in her makeup tutorial when she does the black and white, which by the way looks fucking fierce as shit.
Yeah.
That personality in front of that camera at that moment would have taken her so far in season 9 if she had delivered that nearly all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But in the season, I think her arc, her real experience arc, not a story arc, but a real experience arc is the moment she didn't get Black China, and she's talked about it. She said it with Michelle and the post interview. She just went downhill. Do you know what I mean? Like she just it took a turn and she couldn't get out of the descending into a dark place, which is this paranoia factor that the queens are talking about her and they're saying stuff. And then you get to Reunited and you kind of have this moment and most of the girls appear to be like, let's do this. Throw it out there. Let's hash it out. Let's get it all done and over with. Let's put it to rest. And she kind of doesn't want to or whatever. And then Ru actually gives her an out, which I thought was amazing that she actually says, do you think it's possible? Keyword is possible. That was the out. And Nina says no. And it was funny because even Ru was surprised, I think, that Nina disregarded possibility. Like there is a 0% chance this is imagined or something else. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of crazy, because back when the tutorial thing came out, I'm pretty sure it was you, Damon. Like we had talked, and I was like, "Wow! Like, is there what's going on here?"
Yeah, it was very.
Like she seems good.
Yeah,
maybe she got some therapy, got some happy meds, got some I don't know something. That has really kind of helped her. That was my hope, and then seeing Reunited, I was like, "Oh, all right. Well, maybe not. Not sure. Kind of confused."
Nina's back. So, are we on to Chester, I think, at this point?
Well,
he was, yeah.
I kind of interjected my thoughts in what you guys are saying, because I'm pretty sure we're all saying the same thing about Valentina anyway.
God, that bitch.
Unless Brady has something to add, I don't really have anything to add.
I'm going to talk about Valentina during my eye rolls because there's something that's come to light that I want to discuss.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's move on to your snaps then, Brady.
Damn, that was quick.
Well, wait. We need to post. We need the music. We need the music.
Well,
sorry.
She's like, no. Gary's got this thing he does. You can't throw him off. But this is usually where it fails to play. It figures. Did you even hear that at all? Probably not.
No.
Let's try that again, shall we?
Gentlemen, start your engines and may the best woman win.
Yeah. So we're going straight into it. Brady, you're going to lead us off on snaps and eye rolls or hits and misses. But I don't think you're going to get to the Valentina thing first, though, because you're doing snaps, right?
Yeah, I'm doing snaps first. My snaps are quick, though. Best reunion in history, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Was funny, was full of drama, was full of gasp moments. So I'm in love with it. I can't. It's going to be hard to see if anything tops it, but we got future seasons. We'll see what happens.
It was a really good reunion show. It's caused a lot of just people talking about it all over, and it's one of those things I was surprised about because I usually only watch everything once. Like I may watch it a second time if I feel like I need to. This one I didn't watch a second time because I didn't have to, because everything kind of got thrown out at me through memes and like I've mentioned on Twitter and everything else. I was like, yeah. There's a if you know D&D, there's a grid of all the like lawful good and neutral good and chaotic evil ones, and I really fucking like that because it totally made sense to me.
Yeah. I would say this is probably the most talked about reunion since Detox did her black and white look.
Yep.
Because I just remember that specifically being a big point when that season did theirs. So moving on to eye rolls. So we talked about Charlie, 7 7, whatever the fuck is going on with her. I don't understand what the excuses were. Was just a bunch of nonsense for me. Was over when she started talking, honestly. But Valentina. So I just ran off into my own little world a little bit ago and was reading an interesting article calling Valentina Valenstein, which I think is hilarious. Essentially saying that RuPaul's Drag Race has made her into a monster. I don't specifically agree with that. I think that Valentina's got some issues. I think that with what's come to light, it has changed my opinion of her. The fact that, I didn't know about all the stuff that was going on with her fans saying this kind of stuff to Alexis, and the fact that she was silent about it. There comes a point, because as a title holder, you don't want to put your opinions out there too much because it can cause issues. But there's a point when you can say, hey, this needs to stop.
Yeah.
You can be the example. And I think Valentina really missed the mark here for being that example.
Let me look real quick before we make sure. Is anyone else bringing this up? Okay, good. Okay, sorry. So one of the things that really caught me and Jim's ear was when she compared herself to Selena.
Mm-hmm.
I love that part.
Holy fucking God.
Really? Really?
Who the fuck do you think you are? Wait a second. Hold the phone. Cancel the subscription. No.
I understand where she would get that idea, but comparing herself to Selena in those words that she chose, my reaction was the same thing. I was like, really, bitch?
Wow.
Yeah.
But on the same token, everyone said what I was thinking and what you just said, Brady. If your fans think you so much as this goddess of music, it's whatever you want to compare your fucking self to, you could have taken one moment and said, please stop attacking these girls. They did nothing wrong. It was my fault. I'm owning it, that it was my issue, my moment. I did not do my best, which you have said on the show and you said in an interview. And now here we are on Untucked, or not Untucked, but in the reunion, and you've kind of said it again. You could have said something. And to me, the worst one was what she said, what Alexis said. She came to her FaceTiming, sobbing that her fans were saying these things to her. And you're calling these girls your sisters, and you can't take a fucking moment and post something on Facebook or put a video out there or say something about it. And then you get called out by Shay about, oh, I'm not on social media. No, fuck that shit right now. We're going to stop that noise now. You know exactly what you could have done. You could have done it really quickly, and it would have been done. Maybe it would have been done. If your fans are so devoted to you, they would have listened to you. And if you had said one thing, you could have just told them to stop. And maybe some wouldn't have stopped. Maybe you're hardcore, whatever. Maybe would have stopped. But at least you would have said something, and maybe these girls wouldn't have had such a harsh opinion of you at that point.
Exactly. And, I voted for Valentina for Miss Congeniality. And the reason I did was because I felt like during the season, there were moments where she actually was very kind. She wasn't as motherly, but there were congenial moments.
Yeah.
But then learning the stuff that I found out, I wish I could take my vote back. I would have voted for someone else, as it has tarnished my opinion of her, because I do not take cyberbullying very lightly at all. I think it's something that needs to be dealt with, and the fact that she did not say anything really bothered me. And so one other thing I wanted to touch up on is recently come to light, and we'll see what happens from this. I don't know if they'll take away her title or anything. But Valentina back in 2010 did blackface, which has caused a bunch of arguments. Now the picture itself, when I was looking at it, it looks more like it's a blue color, but it's apparently blackface, and they added a filter to it. But it was posted on her actual model account. the little pound cake Twitter account found it and blasting it all over Twitter, and it's all over Reddit now. It's very interesting to find out about it because I don't know why, if it was for a photo shoot or what was going on, but it's pissed quite a few people off, and even some of the drag queens are speaking out about it now.
And that's the thing. Like, there are certain things in this life, in this world, this world we are now, that if they come to light and you don't squash it or figure out, talk about it or say something or give or whatever, give something. If you don't squash it, it's going to blow out of proportion. And the minute like this goes down, it's going to, I don't know.
Exactly. And I posted links for you guys to look at if you wanted to see what was sent.
Interesting.
So I have a question while we go to look at this article. To be technical, Valentina didn't explain accurately which Selena she was referring to.
Okay.
There's more than one when you think of Selena?
Some people were
Well,
saying
I mean,
Gomez.
there is Selena Gomez, who is alive and well today. I think everyone made a leap and was thinking of Selena, and I'm probably going to butcher her last name, Quintanilla Perez, who is, the singer and I want to say actress. I mean, she was, an all-around entertainer who had died. So I was kind of like, okay.
So,
like there's technically an out if you really wanted to have one.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this picture, and I want clarification, because it looks like a modeling thing, and it looks very blue. Now, I don't want to call this blackface.
I don't want to say it's blackface either.
I don't want to say it is either, and that's what the argument is currently.
Yeah, because to me,
I don't consider that blackface.
Like, this is very, very different, and I'm not going to play that card, but that to me looks very. This is more artistic than anything else, but at the same time, she should address it now. Like, don't let this sit for too long, because that's how things will grow. If it rolls down the line of blackface and people go that route, it'll go that route, and there will be no coming back from it.
Yep.
Like, we've seen it before. There's no coming back from it. But this, I think, is not what I'm seeing is not what that is. But again, she needs to say something about it pretty fucking soon.
Exactly. So far, she's not said anything. She's actually not been on social media since June 5th. So we'll see what happens and what is said.
Yeah. Oh, well, anyway.
Yeah, this particular set of images, I'm not down on calling it blackface.
Yeah, me neither.
Because blackface to me blackface has history. And I am completely going to talk out my ass as a cis white gendered male, like white gendered, wow, as a white cisgender male about the history, in that it was white individuals, probably mostly men from my recollection, that actually painted their face black. And it wasn't their whole body. It wasn't their face and their neck. It was literally just the front of their face. and they were performing for entertainment purposes, portraying an individual that was black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, that's very different. I mean, that's right up in the history of like Sambo and Aunt Jemima and the Jockey Boy, Lawn Ornament. I mean, like it comes out of a very specific time in American history, and like to me. So when people say blackface, I'm like, you best be careful, because there are some queens, or a queen, who performs still to this day, to my knowledge, doing what is more what people would call blackface. Granted, she blacks her whole body, so it's not just her face, but she is a white man portraying a black woman. And you know, that's where I was like, I don't know about this. So, and a lot of the comments, things that I'm seeing, you know, there's kind of this debate about the fact, is it black? Is it not? It's blue. It's definitely, you know, been done in a way to kind of be artistic in that. I mean, to me, I think the first picture that I see here is amazing. Like, I don't know, Chester, if you would agree or not, because you're the photographer, so to speak, out of the group of us, but I just really like how it's really put together.
Photographs. Mm-hmm. I think they're really great. That's why as soon as I looked at it, I'm like, no, that's not blackface. This is something more than that. This is something produced. It's a thought out plan. It's not just somebody throwing on some makeup, making fun of somebody else. There's intent behind it.
To me, it's reminiscent of, say, like a Avatar, Mystique from X-Men kind of thing.
And that's where what I was thinking as well, but everyone else is, of course, you know, going with the what they think it is. So it's just, they're all fighting.
But
and
I think they really, like, I love Valentina to death, but Valentina or whoever took the picture, or her modeling agency or whatever, somebody needs to say something, because if nothing gets said, the snowball is going to hit, and it's going to start rolling downhill.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of already is. So yeah, like, no. Okay. All right, moving right along.
So yeah, I mean, Brady, basically the takeaway for you now is knowing everything that you know, or putting together things that you weren't aware of before. Your attitude about her has changed.
Mm-hmm.
When you're saying about eye rolls, is it like, did you feel that way when you watched the Reunited episode, or was that kind of more after this online stuff? And you know what I mean?
I felt it when I was watching the episode, because when she was giving that excuse of, well, I'm not really on social media, and, you know, Shay came out and was like, no, hold on, bitch, that's not what's happening, because I've seen you on your phone. Like, people just are not just going to come out and say that. If they're seeing you doing all the shit on your phone, they're telling the truth, and you're lying. And I didn't appreciate that, and the fact that all this drama has been happening and she's not done anything about it, you know, that really, really has changed my opinion on her.
I think for you, the big one was the whole, like, Alexis and her not coming to her defense in some capacity. Like, that's my big one. Like, that would be my big one. Like that, and then a couple of other things that happened in specifically in the Reunited. There's a lot of stuff that I agree with you, Brady, that changed my opinion of her.
Because how can you be a role model if you're not willing to stick up for one of your friends?
Yeah. And her, like, when she left the show, I felt bad, but because I thought, like, oh, we've all cracked under the pressure. We've all had that moment we've gotten our head and we've lost everything. We don't know what to do, and we just kind of freeze or whatever. And if she had stuck with that story, if it were fake, I might have been more believing of her. But when she kind of backtracked and then said this and then said that, it became more to me than what she was letting on. And I feel like I almost feel like I almost feel like she not necessarily did it on purpose, but I think she wasn't ready for what could have come with winning the challenge, and she now has what she needed. It was a this is gonna be really. It was a very Magnolia Crawford thing to do.
Oh yeah, that's probably
Magnolia Crawford.
that's
Where,
a really great example.
Like I'm gonna get on the show just so I can be on the show, and yeah, maybe I'll win, but then you're like, oh well, shit, I can't do it. So here comes the ending, but now I have all my fans, and I have all these people, and now I'm Miss Congeniality, and I've won all this shit. So like, yeah, I don't know. Like I like I said earlier, I've lost some of the respect I had for her based a lot on what she did in this, specifically in Reunited. A lot of that, because I didn't know all this other stuff you brought out, Brady, but to me, the crack about, you know, the comparing her fans to Selena fan, and I don't care if it's Selena Gomez or the Selena that we all know. That no, you don't come up to that level. I'm sorry, you don't. And then her crack at Farrah, and her, you know, her after she won Miss Congeniality, her attitude after that from then on changed for me.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be congenial, you don't look at someone and tell them to shut up. Be like, hey, let's have a conversation afterwards.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, she she really seemed to be lacking social skills.
Mm-hmm.
She could not deal with the pressure with everybody coming at her. She cracked.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to phrase it, you know, to basically say she just couldn't face it. So she kind of retreated, you know. I really would like to see the unedited version, because something happened. I don't know what it was. And the way we saw it, I don't think is how it happened, because she's already sitting with the you know, statue at the award, and Eureka says, "See what you did there, girl?" And then Joshua comes to the front, not Valentina,
James.
and says,
James.
"I got nothing to say about that." James, whatever. Can't even remember what her damn boy name is. And I was like,
see, you know,
what
when
the fuck just happened? I was like, no. This is not congruous. You know what I mean? Like timeline wise, something happened. Like we skipped a moment. We skipped a couple seconds, a minute, 10 minutes. I don't know. But like, I was just like, whoa, wait, all right. Damn it. Like, there was twice in the episode of Reunited that kind of pissed me off. There's a moment early on where something gets said and there's a gasp, but the gasp gets cut audio-wise. It was bad editing. It really pissed me off, because I was like, wait, which queen is gasping? We never see it. Like the camera doesn't catch it. I don't know what's happening. But later, I have a feeling it was Aja, because Aja seemed to be the most like auditory, vocal? like vocal, like, you know, oral, like gasping, like, you know, talking, whatever. I don't know if it was because her mic was placed, you know, strategically better than the other girls or whatever, but there just seemed to be some kind of weird things going on with that. And that particular moment where she's like, well, I've had nothing to say about that. And I was like, that's not Valentina. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how Valentina would behave about that, I think.
Exactly. And the funniest moment of the Reunited episode for me was the fact when I was looking at someone and I was like, who the fuck is that? And I'm like, oh my God, that's Kimora Black. I forgot about her.
I forgot about Kimora and James, so don't feel bad.
All right. Interestingly, since we're bringing them up, I want to tag on and say Kimora Black and James Mansfield didn't say much. Kimora got more airtime, talk time than James did. James, it seems like it was portrayed, was only there to get her one line in as part of the reading challenge.
Yeah.
But I was okay with that. I also think James has lost weight since they recorded the show. It's just a thing. Like, I saw some pictures from the runway or whatever, and even on the Reunited, and then some backstage like camera interview type stuff Or as James Mansfield, like, in drag, she pads.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, she's already a little curvy, but then maybe she pads more, and that's the thing. I don't know. But anyways, they didn't necessarily speak much, but I know I went off earlier this season about Kimura, and I like wrote her off. Like, could never see her again in my life, and I'd be perfectly fine with that because I thought she was a goddamn dunce.
Yeah.
Like, and ignorantly rude about, like. And then I've noticed, like, there's kind of been references to the fact that that she's a little spoiled and she comes from privilege or money or has money or whatever. And that's kind of where her mind is. And that's why she kind of isn't relatable to some things.
Yeah.
And that I found intriguing because Kimura is the one that sort of, in my eyes, took some steps to redeem her humanity, her personality, because I don't recall the exact line, but she made a comment, and I think Kimura was the one that was calling out Nina and was like, let's put it out there. Like, girl, it's Reunited. Like, let's do this thing. And I was like, oh, you are not just this, like, twerpy little twiggy plastic Barbie doll from Vegas thing, that thinks so highly of herself and doesn't give a shit. Like, I think Drag Race, if there's anybody maybe it changed the most, it might actually be Kimura. Like, she might have come into this as a snooty bitch and like actually learned really quickly, like, oh, whole, globe of this entertainment form outside of my, my glitzy town of, stage performers or whatever.
Yeah.
So for me, that was an interesting moment, and I wanted to at least kind of express that. Brady, were there other eye rolls that you wanted to discuss?
Nope, I'm good.
How about you, Gary?
All right. I didn't cut out the audio thing, although I really should have. I want to give my snaps to Trinity and Eureka. They were reading each other at the non-reading library moment, if I recall correctly, later in the episode, and they were just just right back and forth. And I was like I literally was watching it in bed on the laptop, and I was going, yes, queen! I was just losing my mind because they were like they were just, and they weren't being mean. Like, that's the thing I don't think people understand, and that's what Rue is trying to tell Alexis. Like, girl, reading is from a place of love. Like, when you say these things, it's because you're trying to face demons. Like, you're actually dealing with the shit that each of us has our stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was misunderstood, and Alexis still doesn't necessarily get it.
Well, to be fair, I think that Trinity and Eureka genuinely dislike each other. But it's very similar to the way that Alyssa and Coco dislike each other. They dislike each other because they're rivals, not because they just can't stand each other because they're bitches.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
so I think that's why when they read each other, it comes off as, I'm going to read you and I'm going to say something truthful that I really do think about you, but I mean it in a slightly joking manner. Like, you didn't say JK though, but they mean it. But you didn't say JK.
I know that was kind of an annoyance factor for me too.
I'll get to that.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, their back and forth, I think, was probably one of my favorite moments because it was non-scripted from what I could tell. And yes, I agree with you, Chester. Like, maybe they really don't like each other. I mean, Trinity says, "I think you're loud. I think you're rude." Like, she just kind of basically comes from her, this is going to sound, very pigeonhole, from her pageant background, to basically say, you are a loud, obnoxious fuckery. Like, you are just an annoyance. Like, you are not polished. You are not poised, is kind of, I think, the subtext of that. And Eureka, she don't care. I mean, she owns so much about herself. I think she's a tour de force come the next season. Because she's had a little bit of experience, and I think it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens. I mean, did you see her runway look when she showed up for the finale? She had this huge, like, foam felt headdress thing that was kind of cartoony, but it was of an elephant head. And it has this, this trunk and shit. And she was asked about it. And what I loved about it was that she said she decided to come as an elephant. The fact that that's basically what she is right now, because everyone knows she's coming back next season. And that's what everyone wants to talk about. That's what everyone wants to focus on. And I thought that was very interesting. She was kind of like, could we not focus on other things or talk about other shit? Because, bitch, we're not there yet. We haven't recorded it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I thought that was interesting. So anyways, they have, the back and forth. So that was one of my favorites because I thought they were boldly honest with each other. I think basically both of them are like, I see you, I respect you, I hear you. And Trinity's very much from the bitch, I don't like you. Kind of camp.
She really was. It was so freaking funny.
But then again, Trinity, you saying, Brady, about them drinking makes perfect sense, because Trinity once or twice spoke out in a way where I was like, girl, you are kikiing the fuck out of this. I mean, when she turns around, what is it? Shit, I forgot what the first one was. The second one is when Ferris says, I have something to say. And Trinity's like, well, you might as well. Everybody else is. I mean, it was that was truly like a 9 to 5, Dolly Parton, Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda moment, where they're just partying and having a good time and gives a fuck if cameras are rolling. I mean, she was just basically train has derailed. Who gives a flying fuck? Say something, so it really kind of cracked me up. And that could very well be because she'd had a cocktail or two.
Mm-hmm.
My eye rolls. I didn't think I was going to have any, but then I did. And that's because some people just can't not be a victim. And I'm going to say that as a person who in my lifetime has played that role and been a victim, only I think more than not, at this point in my life, I'm trying to not be that, or I'm aware of it, or I at least have friends and family who will call me out on it if it's happening. And I think that's what was attempting to happen, but it wasn't getting through. And that's Alexis and her body is being off limits issue that they discussed. And if she had just skipped her prepared statement at the beginning, I probably would have not been annoyed with her. But the fact that I was like, oh, damn it, who put that 45 back on the record player? Because I'm tired of listening to it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that you said during the show. You know what I mean? I just keep hearing it over and over again about how we had talked about her body issues and blah, blah. I was like, really? 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 And then, Shay is kind of now I feel like I've had a fever dream. And I don't know if this happened in Reunited, but I think it happens where Shay says, I talked about my teeth. It's a sensitive issue for me, but that didn't stop you.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that was in Reunited. That's the thing. I loved the fact that Rue called her out on, you can dish it out, but you can't take it. And I'm like, yeah, because that's pretty much what it is. Okay, you're one of the bigger girls on the show. I mean, Eureka was not there anymore, but really, you're one of the bigger girls on the show. I get that you have body image issues. Understand it. Totally. But that doesn't mean that it's off limits to anyone. And for you to go on and go oh, don't talk about it. No. And then to now, oh, we can talk about it now, but I'm still not comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with it, but I'm not comfortable with it. It's pretty much what she said to me. And I was like, you're obviously not comfortable with it. You're playing it off that you are. I'm sure you're going to go home and cry, after this, moment or whatever. Because to me, I think you're beautiful, personally. And I wish you would let these jokes go, like so many queens in the past who have been read and certain things have kind of been said that have been a little harsh. If you had let those things go, I think people would have liked you a bit more. But instead, you play, like you said, you play the victim, and it ended up biting you in the ass. I mean, it doesn't. You can't have it both ways. You can't make fun of someone else's things and not expect them to turn it about and do it to you. Like, that's just not how this works.
I agree with you, Damon. It's funny because I'm gonna make a confession. I don't think in all the seasons there's been someone that I felt conflicted about, and it happens to be Alexis Michelle, because Alex, as a boy, if he was to not shave, like his body and his face, and show up at an event, like Bear Bar Night or a run or a back room in a bar, I'd probably hook up. I might have to try to keep her mouth shut, or at least don't talk. But
Yeah.
when they showed there was one scene early in the season, I don't know what it was, and she was like shirtless or whatever. She was walking across the workroom, I think with just like shorts or something on. And I was like, oh, she curvy girl. Look at that. I was like, all right, you go with yourself. But I don't think she has that confidence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, she's not like Eureka. Eureka's like, I am large, I am in charge. Like, she's almost in a way like the white version of Latrice.
Yeah.
I don't know sorry, go ahead, finish what you're saying.
No, it's okay. Go on.
I was going to say, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Ginger Minge is very skirting the bear line. And what I mean by that is her boyfriend is very bearish. He's short, chubby, he's got a goatee.
Husband.
He definitely fit in at Tidal Wave.
They're married.
Wait, what? When did that happen?
They've been married for a little while. She even called him her husband.
Well, okay, because I know it was big drama when she went out on her tour. And I took Vince and Rich and we went to Cleveland and we saw her. She talked very openly on the tour about how she and her very long standing relationship had come to an end. And that was pretty rough for her. And that he had kind of saved her from a bad place in the beginning when they first met. And I knew that she had met somebody new because on Couples for Cash, the show that WoW Presents does on YouTube, she had her boyfriend, and that was like May of last year or the spring of last year when they recorded it. So I wasn't aware that they went ahead and got married and all that. So
I love, thank you, Faith. Thank you, Google. So she had there was a husband during her season, and that's not her husband anymore.
Right.
Well, the only reason I say husband is because she referred to him as her husband at Tidal Wave.
Which they very well could have gotten married. It surprises me a little bit because Ginger seems very open, like as in a wedding to me doesn't seem like something you would keep under the table. Like, but maybe she feels like we don't have to make a big deal of this. You know what I mean in terms of that they got married piece of it. I don't know. But yeah, that's Damon had put up a link to an image from Couples for Cash. Yeah, that's him. At least that's the one I know of.
He has a beard now.
See, that's a redeeming and nice quality that he's added. God, that sounded so shitty. By the way, I've been enjoying a nice cocktail tonight, in case you can't tell.
I will ask Ginger.
Almost done.
Ginger's going to be at our Pride rally this Saturday, so I'll ask her because she tweeted me we're supposed to meet. So,
you know what? I would really like, Brady, when you meet her, if you can get a picture with her and her husband.
Yeah.
Like get a picture with Ginger. I mean, put the spotlight on her because she deserves it. But then also say, can I get a picture with your husband too? Like the three of you together. Because yeah. No, and he seemed like a really nice guy when they did the Couples for Cash thing, and I was happy for her. That she found somebody and that kind of stuff. So but yeah, I think some of the curvier, bigger contestants over the years have owned their stuff, and Alexis hasn't, unfortunately. I just don't know like where exactly that comes from and all that. But I'm going to get off of that and stop talking about it. Damon, your snaps and eye rolls.
Okay. Good, I'm not muted. So actually my snaps go to Pheromone and her calling Miss Valentina out on her issue, the thing. I loved it because she was very, like you said, she was going between like sad and mad. Like I so saw that, but it made sense to me because it called out something that we've all like realized, like, yeah, they were friends. They were very much like we talked about it. It was very much a, group therapy and best friends kind of thing. And then it's definitely not been that, I don't think, since they've left the show. And it kind of, to me, put that in perspective. 5 months is a long time not to talk to somebody for whatever reason. And I get it. You're both busy, you're both doing stuff, but to say, a text, a call, it doesn't take much to keep that connection. And considering the experience that you both had together, it would have been, it makes sense that you would want someone that you shared that experience with to be close to you. So that's my snaps. My eye rolls go to Nina Benina, shut your fucking mouth up, Brown. I was so pissed and upset that she kind of went on this very big defensive point, to the point of like she wouldn't even, it sounded a lot like the Nina in the earlier episodes where she put up this wall and nope, nothing would bring it, nothing could bring it and break it. And it I wanted her to just shut up, and she did. I mean, eventually she didn't really she didn't talk for much of the rest of the episode, but it was that giving RuPaul pretty much saying to you, do you think that this is possibly paranoia for you? Again, like she did on the runway at that point. It's like, no one's out to get you, girl. Come on, like, get over it. I know and I hate saying that, and I maybe there is something else going on here, but to me, it doesn't seem like you get it. We can say it and say it and say it and say it and say it over and over and over again. But if you don't get it, we're going to stop saying it and we're going to stop believing you. It's the way that I feel that Shay felt about her, and it's the way I feel that Peppermint felt about her. They were tired of trying to build her up because she wasn't really paying attention or listening. So it's like, come on. So yeah, Nina just, I'm over that, and I kind of like I don't really even want to see what she does at I kind of want to see what she does at the reunion because at the finale because I love what she does, but I don't want to hear her talk. I don't want to hear what she has to say about what happened on show because I don't really care. Because to me, I know what is going to happen because if the Reunited was a preview of that stuff, it's just going to be her acting paranoid again. So, and if there's something mentally wrong, then please get the help that you need. Because I think at this point, I feel like I just really do feel there's something there. And I know at one point she mentioned something about depression, and I'm wondering if that's maybe was a little hint of something, but I think there's maybe more to it. So, yeah.
All done?
Yes, I'm done. Sorry.
Okay. My snaps were for Shay and Sasha, and I guess you could say Aja and Farrah can go in this as well. But it's for calling bitches out for being bitches.
Yep.
When you've got Charlie up there lying through his teeth, or maybe not lying, I guess, but coming up with excuse after excuse and then calling them out for it. You've got Nina up there being paranoid as fuck, and people are calling them out for it. You've got Valentina up there being a cunt, showing her true colors, and people calling her out for it. I'm glad it finally happened, because it didn't really happen on the show that much. So yeah, I'm really glad that they all kind of let it all fly like they did. Now my eye rolls are for Charlie, and I'm gonna have to go over to the document on this because there are seven excuses he came up with on why he did not lip sync. So during the episode, when he was up there not lip syncing, he said that he wasn't lip syncing because that's not the way that they do it in the UK.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's fine. We accepted that that was his reason. But immediately after the show airs, he comes back and says, yeah, the reason why I didn't do that is because I had a cracked rib and I wasn't moving around. Okay, that's believable. That's plausible, seeing that you guys just did all of that floor routine bullshit that you were doing.
Uh-huh.
So now we come to the reunion episodes and we recover that first one and that second one. And now here comes the third one. Feigning masturbation, whatever the fuck that was supposed to be about. And then he says that he just didn't have much left in him. Insinuating that he just didn't have any energy left. It was a long day. It was a long week. That's what he said. And then he finished that up with, he didn't get any sleep.
Uh-huh.
And then at one point during that discussion where everybody's talking about that, and it's kind of in the background when he says it, because he says it when somebody else is talking. He says to Aja, but Aja, you're half my age. So there's the sixth one. And the seventh one was he didn't want to learn the words to the song. That was his last one that he said. What was funny is when I was watching the episode when it first aired, I was like, Jesus Christ, he's just coming out with story after story. Whatever the other queens are throwing at him, he's coming up with another excuse. So it made perfect sense when Trinity said, pick one excuse, not five.
Yeah.
So when I rewatched the episode, I actually started writing down every single excuse that he came up with. And yeah, there was 7 different excuses.
Nice. Yeah, that's the thing. I really wish. I agree with Trinity. I wish you would say something, like one thing, and stick to it. Was it because of the rib? Was it because you didn't want to learn the song? Was it because you didn't, it had been a long day and you were tired? We know you're old. We already know that. You're the oldest queen. So we get that. Maybe it's not, you're not this as a young person game, whatever. But, or was it because of this? Or was it because of that? If you had stuck with something, I would have been okay if you had said it was the cracked rib. Because to me, that makes the most sense. You re-injured yourself during the episode. We all know that Eureka fucking popped her knee out, so it tore her ACL or whatever. So obviously this wasn't the thing for you. So okay. So that's what you should have stuck with. And if you had stuck with that, and I get that people were saying things like, oh, well, you should have just, pushed her pain or whatever. Okay. Yeah. Well, you don't know what I was going through. You don't know the pain I was dealing with. It hurts. It's a re-injury. I would have respected that a lot more.
At least the difference is if you compare those 3, Charlie, Valentina, and Nina, you can see that Charlie and Nina had gave up.
Yeah.
Like they just were like, okay, well, I'm done. They gave up. They just didn't put any energy into the lip sync. When you get to Valentina, I don't think she gave up. She just was like stunned so much that, oh shit, I didn't expect to be here. Oh, you mean I actually really do have to fight right now? And she fucked up because she didn't bother to, go through with the competition with what she should have been doing the whole time. Had Valentina learned the words to the song like she should have, she would probably be in the top 4. The other two, you could tell that they gave up. They knew that their time had come. Well, I'm pretty sure that Nina gave up quite a few episodes before, but it's happening. She was pushed through.
I do want to say this one thing about the Charlie list of excuses. I think it's Shay that calls Charlie out about the medic thing, about the medical situation, like that there was staff on hand, blah, blah, blah. You could have gotten help, basically. Charlie's response is, it's a stiff British upper lip kind of thing, didn't want to show weakness. I kind of get that. I think, which is the hardest to understand, is that quite possibly most or all of those excuses are technically true. It's just that they were all happening at the same time. And when you parse them out, and individualize them, people are like, bitch, make up your mind. Like, here's a really bad analogy. Is it a cheese burrito? Is it a, carne asada burrito? Is it a bean burrito? Is it a guacamole burrito? Well, actually, it's all of those things. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the complexity of being a human. And I'm not trying to defend Charlie. I just think it's difficult to say it's just one thing. And it's very unfortunate for her because I feel that a lot of queens, especially her sisters in competition, have kind of dismissed her. It's not that they won't deal with her. They're just kind of like, girl, I'm over you now. Like, I'll work with you. I will, perform with you, but don't come asking me favors. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel you have credibility right now because you withheld yourself and were not authentic with me. And I think that's the worst situation for any competitor to be in, especially on a reality competition, is when people feel burned that you lied to them, that you weren't real. I think that's when they kind of turn on you, and they will not necessarily want to have things to do with you. Do you know what I mean? It's not that they, will post shit about you, or send their fans after you. They'll just say, sorry, I just feel that you were gaming too much, whatever. I mean, they'll say certain other things that are a little different.
Oh, I completely agree with your point about saying that all of those reasons are valid. They are valid reasons. I get every single one of them. Maybe not the feigning masturbation one. I think that has more to do with the fact that that's not her style of music, so she doesn't really know how to perform to it. That's fine. That's fair. That's a valid reason. For her saying that she's tired, that she doesn't get any sleep, that she's, twice those people's seniors, those are valid reasons too. And yeah, they are cumulative, but why not say them as a cumulative reason and not every time somebody tries and comes for you and says, you know what, you were moving around on the stage just fine and working and in the workroom just fine, so why couldn't you move around on the main stage during your lip sync? Oh, well, then that's because, and then comes up with another reason. However you want to put it.
I will say this. Some people just do not have the quality or the skills to handle themselves live in the moment when the heat comes.
Uh-huh.
Not everybody is a debate team winner. Not everybody is a litigator. Not everybody is an investigator. Do you know what I mean? Like, not everybody's an inquisitioner and has been through that experience. So I think some people, they just don't do well with that. And I think that's what's difficult. I think Valentina kind of both, and maybe Alexis a little bit, like, they can only go to a certain point and then they just kind of back off or shut down. Do you know what I mean? Like, they retreat. Like, it's kind of like it's a verbal battle, it's a whatever, and then they're kind of like, nope. And they, but instead of conceding, they don't necessarily do anything. You know what I mean? And like, it gets a little strange. And what I found odd a little bit was that, Trinity makes the dig about Charlie and Charlie acts shocked. Like, and this is later in the Reunited episode. I don't quite recall where it is or whatever, but Trinity, maybe it's when Trinity makes the, pick one, not five or whatever comment. And Charlie's kind of like, kind of like, I thought we were done with this. And I thought, oh no, girl. Like, that chapter was not finished, like, editing yet. And you're never going to live it down. Like, just like Valentina will probably never live down, for some people, the infamous, wearing a mask while lip syncing thing. So it's just your legacy. It's how it's going to carry forward. That's all there is to it.
There are moments in each of those queens' performances during, throughout their show that are going to stick with them.
Yeah, I think that remains to be seen. I mean, some queens have totally faded away and never been really heard from again. And then we have, others that were not necessarily the most popular on their season, and they're still around and still performing, got their name out there, still being productive, doing stuff. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
Are we ready to move into closing thoughts?
Sure.
Si, senor.
Okay. So because it's Reunited and we're about to watch the finale in a couple of days, I kind of had a general question about, has an overall winner emerged? And if yes, who? That's the case. Now, I'm not forcing us as co-hosts because I don't want anyone to claim that I'm like, putting a weapon to them to make them pick somebody. But when I thought about that, has an overall winner emerged? I'm more troubled by this notion that keeps getting discussed, and I don't know if it's coming from Reddit or what. Has it all been pre-decided?
Pre-decided as in what? We already know who wins, or?
As in, there's one claim that has been made that before filming, one queen was deemed the overall winner, and then they recorded the whole show, and that it was crafted in a way so that that person would win. And that's a huge accusation because that's a god level kind of manipulation. I mean, that's dungeon master type stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that you've preordained something and you're going to keep moving the pieces, manipulating the elements or whatever to make this one person the ultimate winner. And so I don't know if I can see that. Do you know what I mean? Like if there's truth behind that one person was predetermined to be the winner and everybody else was just a supporting cast. No offense.
Yeah.
It's already been pre-decided. Then, like, do we feel that an overall winner has emerged? I don't believe at this moment a pre-decision theory. I also don't think that an overall winner has emerged. And here's why. But see, Brady changed it on me. Damn it. I'm gonna talk in reference like you hadn't said something, right, Brady? If everything played as it's been presented, then the 4 finalists should have used the Reunited as an opportunity to put their best foot forward to win. Which means you mind your P's and Q's, you shut your hole, you are polite because you're trying to win votes. You're trying to get your fans or people to tell Ru via social media, however this is measured as a mechanism, this is who you think should be the winner because this will influence Ru's final decision. It is not that Ru's decision represents the people. It is that Ru has taken into account, just like she takes into account the judges panel,
Yeah.
Ultimately, decision is hers. Same thing comes from the public. So if, let's say, I don't know, 40% of all social media is really in one camp, just one queen, and then the other 60% is spread across all the remaining. Do you know what I mean? Well, then that turns out to be like 20, 20, 20, and 40. Do you know what I mean? So it makes it pretty clear one person is, and that's who people are looking for. And that could help Rue, but I don't know if that's really the case right now. So out of the 4, Trinity seemed to not
Give a
pay
shit.
attention. Right. She seemed to not pay attention to the part I just mentioned,
No
which is
fucks
girl.
given.
Right. Like, I applaud her for no fucks given. It was highly entertaining.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a queen this season that I want to sit down and have a drink with, Trinity's probably it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to sit down and be like, girl, we gotta talk. Like, and
Yeah.
you don't even have to spill any tea. We just need to laugh it up. We need to drink and,
Yeah.
talk about how much shit you've injected in yourself and how you really do your tuck and apparently, put everything inside your cavity or whatever. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should go watch the extra videos online.
Apparently. Now, I've never done drag to this level, but apparently the bigger you are, the better your tuck is. And since she is Trinity, the tuck Taylor, she must be massive.
Now, when you were talking about size, I thought you were referring to when Eureka says in the video, girl, I am fat. I don't have to tuck. It tucks itself.
She just puts it behind your thighs.
I didn't think you were talking about penis size. I thought you were just talking about, like, if you're voluptuous, like if you're very, hippie, thigh, fupa, like you don't really have to do anything.
We watch the same shows. You know what I'm talking about.
Right, but then I thought, but just now when you said it, I thought you were referring, like Damon was, like, her dick's so big, like her tuck is easy to do because it reaches all the way around and goes in, or whatever.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
And Eureka is going in another direction. It is kind of like, nope, I don't have to do anything. See, I just put my thighs together and it's gone.
Well, she also does say it helps to have a small penis.
Well, I wasn't gonna go there, girl, but
she said it, not me.
Well, she does say it, and they put it at the very, very end of the whole video. But it was too funny. So, anyways, you should see that video. What we're talking about, but so yeah, the 4 of them, like Peppermint seemed the most reserved. Like she seemed the most poised. Like understands what's going on. I heard some people give criticism that she looked like she showed up for a business job interview. In her outfit, I thought she looked beautiful.
I
all right, I have to ask this because I haven't determined it yet, and maybe it'll come out in the finale. Do we think, or does anybody think that Peppermint has had surgery since the end of the season?
Yes.
Oh, you know what? I never even thought about it.
I think she has.
Okay, so you think that the top is the real deal now?
I think. I don't know for sure, but I
Right.
What I saw, unless the illusion is really good or she's got a breastplate, there was some jiggly, like, but I don't know. Like, I would love to. I'll when I see the episode, or I'll look at the episode again. But I feel like she has. But maybe she hasn't. Doesn't her?
I do as well, Damon. I agree with you. I think she has had her, her upper done, and all for it. I want her to be happy. That's the ultimate thing. And because she came out during the season, she may have decided like that's the most appropriate time, because she talked about the duality aspect of day life, night life, kind of stuff. And now it's kind of like, no, I'm just going to be me and I'm going to do, what I want to do. Because in that outfit, the point why I bring that up is because I really liked the way she looked. I thought she looked really good. My only beef was the necklace.
Yeah.
Because it was like not sitting correctly with the tatas. Like this big diamond thing, like, is not flexible. It's very stiff. So you've got this fucking diamond, thing that's sitting like right here, but her boobs, like it keeps kind of not sitting right, and I was like, oh honey, like if you had just like, restoned it a little higher, or I don't know, something, picked a different one. So, I thought that she was very poised. I thought that Shay was minding her P's and Q's until she just kind of couldn't stand it anymore, and then she had to call shit out.
Yeah.
Trinity was just there to party. I think she was having a good time. Between the reads and the, off candid remarks and stuff. And Sasha was the one that disappointed me. I thought that her look was very intriguing.
It looked like a Snuggie.
Well, what did someone call it? They called
though.
Snuggie. Bitch then said Snuggie.
Like a fucking Snuggie.
Well, that's what it looked like. It looked like a felt / foam hybrid Statue of Liberty art culture pop Snuggie thing. Like,
Yeah.
I thought it was so kind of comically like fun and different. I mean, in a way, you might say it looked like a deflated Gumby. There's just gone with it. I didn't quite understand, but I didn't hate it. I mean, she looked way bigger than she is. So I don't know if that was a dynamic, like she was trying to take up more space. The hair, the points, I think, were bigger than what we saw on the show earlier in the season.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like it was, but she kind of spoke way more freely than I cared for if this affects the outcome. Now, that being said, Brady, you fucked up my game because I was content with this whole theory until you said that they actually recorded Reunited after they had recorded the finale. So now I'm like, wait, I'm confused. I don't understand like the timeline. And the reason why I say that is because why would you think it's okay to not care unless you got an impression somehow from recording the finale that you aren't it? Does that make sense?
I'll say this much. They haven't decided the winner yet. We won't know until that airs.
That's kind of the feeling I got from it.
Well, I think there is a very good reason. So, Gary, you said something a few moments ago about queens acting a certain way, being that this is the reunion show and we're on the cusp of the queen being revealed. And that the 4 queens, being that they're the top, they should be acting a certain way. But in reality, there's only 2 that act a certain way. And I don't remember where I was going with that.
Well, I had proposed previously, a theory was that there would have been only 2 in contention for the title, and the other 2 just kind of like, it isn't 4 and it's not 3, it's literally like 2, and then the other 2 kind of fall back.
Yeah, exactly.
I think is where we had left it at as of the end of episode 12.
Right.
The category is. But those 2 that are the 2 that I think, based on their behavior during the reunion, that are possibly in contention are not the 2 I put together. So, I don't know.
Well, as I mentioned a few episodes before, a few Cubs Out Loud episodes before, that I read on Reddit, unfortunately, about who the top 2 contenders were. And now we're going into my closing thoughts.
Might as well.
Because I have a feeling that I know who those top 2 were, my perception of them on the show is a lot different than, the general public's might be. I don't want to say names. I don't want to spoil it for anybody in case they don't know what I'm talking about. So it's really hard to discuss it. But yeah, I don't know.
I know what you're talking about, Chester, because I've also read it, so we can talk about it later, off the air.
Off the air. For the special After Dark episode.
Oh, do we take our pants off for that one?
Why not?
Who's wearing pants now?
I am.
I am.
Anywho,
All right.
How am I the one that's really drunk right now and have my pants on?
I don't know. That's up to you. All right. So, Chester, you were kind of like, are you done with your closing thoughts?
Well, no, I
Just
just want to point out that I think that it's something that I've mentioned several times during all of our episodes that is shit this season. And I think that this reunion episode shows it even more. Because there are certain things that happen during this reunion show, and without saying names, because I'll let people be intelligent adults and figure it out for themselves. Gary, you've already hinted at it, that there are the top 4 queens should be presenting themselves in a manner of about to win the crown, and some of those top 4 do not present themselves. And that's all I'm going to say about it. You guys are intelligent adults. You can figure it out for yourself.
there's been a lot of people who have, at least as far as I've seen, that after the reunion show have pretty much said, like, I don't like any of them now.
And see, that's one thing that I don't understand is I hear a lot of people bitching about Sasha and that she shouldn't be in the top 4. Why exactly should Sasha not be in the top 4?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out where people are coming at. When they make that claim. She's true to her brand. She's done consistently well throughout the entire season.
Yep.
She's not a cunt. So why shouldn't she be in the top 4?
And when you look at everything, if you look at her, she was pretty much, the only time she was ever low was in episode 7. She's either been safe, she's either won, or she's been high.
And Shay is in the same boat. I've seen lots of people making comments about Shay during the reunion episode that she was a complete bitch to other people. And I'm like, I don't see it. I see somebody that is speaking the truth about topics that have come up. Because, well, she's there. She sees it. I'm not really sure why people are giving Sasha and Shay shit.
I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that they were very, like what we were talking about, how the way that they're the top 4, and you expect a certain air about that legacy, about going into this. So you would expect them to kind of be a little bit more poised and what have you. And we didn't get that. Really. I mean, not from from, some of them we did, but for the most part, they were all kind of, not really down and dirty, but they weren't letting things go. They weren't letting things slide. They were calling things out for what they were. And I respected that more than I would have a fake plastered smile sitting there doing nothing, or having an air of almost arrogance because, hey, I'm in the top 4, I'm maybe winning, blah blah blah, kind of thing. I would have preferred. I was glad that they didn't do that. Well, speaking of that, I'll go into my sort of final thoughts. I'm still not sure. Like I know how I felt at the end of the season, meaning the actual last episode. Watching this, I still don't know. I don't know who's going to make it. I don't think it'll be a surprise. I don't have the same opinions about them as I did before, but nothing in my mind has really given someone a clear win to me. I liked Shay in the Reunited because she was very blunt. She wasn't letting anything slide. She was like, "Nope, we're going to call this out. I'm going to call it right now. You can't. I'm not going to let that go." And then I liked Sasha in the Reunited because she was poised, but not like snooty. She was very just like, I get what you're saying, but I'm I totally disagree with you, or what have you. Trinity just had just let everything go, and I think that's just the way I feel she is. And that she was a lot more, honestly, a lot more, to me, genuine than she was in some of the episodes of the earlier part of the season. It was very much just very laid back kind of thing. She was having a ball, and if she was drinking, so be it. That's probably maybe part of it. And Peppermint she was a quiet confidence. I don't know if that makes sense. She seemed not nearly as frazzled as she was at first, and she seemed very confident, and maybe that has a lot to do if she has been going through her transition a lot more, and she's gotten a little bit further along. I mean, it's been, like you said, about maybe 10 months. So, and given, now that she's a RuPaul's Drag Race person, she's probably doing a lot more gigs and getting a lot more, bookings and finances to kind of take care of things. So maybe she has gone further down the transition path now that she has the funds to really do it, and that, I think, showed a lot in her confidence in the I keep calling it Untucked, in the Reunited. So there you go.
Brady, I think.
Brady.
Oh, spoilers. I am abstaining from making any comments in regards to this because I know too much as it is.
Oh.
However, I will say this much. I'm going to touch up a little bit on what Chester said, mostly because it gives me something to talk about. RuPaul has lost a lot of her key production members for this season. Because of that, it has resulted in the season being done differently than what we're used to. We have different people doing her makeup. We've lost her music producer. Who else? She lost someone else.
Well, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing, but it resulted in the way the finale was done because they had to change it entirely, and that's why they're doing a sudden lip sync thing. So because of that, there have been different changes to the season. I don't know if that'll continue into then season 10. Maybe it'll revert back when she gets replacement staff or whatever happens. But it was interesting, to say the least, on watching this season and how things unraveled.
Okay. I do think it's fair to say that there was change-ups. I don't think... Well, there are 3 individuals that we can talk about that it's not... actually 4 individuals that have... Things have changed in the immediate circle of RuPaul over the past year. And they're not really secrets anymore. The first big one was that Matthew Anderson was gone from the scene. Conjecture about what happened, but not really clear. Yeah. Actually, before that, though, now that I think about it, it was last year, leading into the election, Lucian Piani sort of, in a weird social media way, lit himself on fire. And posted a whole bunch of stuff. And did rants and all sorts of things, and everybody was like, girl, bye. They wanted nothing to do with her anymore. And I don't mean like WoW and Ru. I just mean like the, fandom. They were like, we liked you, but you cray. Don't know what the story is. So, there's Lucian, as a music producer who is talented, I feel, based on what had been produced previously, but that kind of stops. And then, Matthew kind of disappears. And then there was, the long held rumor, which I think has now been substantiated and may never actually be outed, quote unquote, officially, like in the finale or anything, but about Delta work now and Raven doing her makeup.
That has been outed officially.
Well, what I mean, Brady, is that they have stepped forward and said, yes, we were doing it as of episode 2 going forward in the season.
That is true. They haven't,
you know what I mean?
They haven't come forward and said it, but they were at the finale doing her makeup and touch-ups on stage out of drag.
Okay. Oh, David was there, not Raven?
Yeah. And so was Delta. I don't know Delta's real name. I can't remember.
Gabriel Villarreal.
Yeah, Gabriel. Interesting, because to be in face and try to be in the audience for some of those visual shots, but I guess, well, now there's 100 queens or whatever. They got enough to pick from. Previous individuals. But that being said, the cover of Entertainment Weekly for the Pride edition, Mama Ru is on it. I think it's an iconic look, like put together, really, done well, and outright, Raven actually like spilled the tea or whatever and said that she did the makeup and then Delta did the wig for the photo shoot. And that was the first thing as soon as it popped up, and I follow Raven on Facebook, and she said, fun to do this and that, and I did this, and I was like, well, she just suddenly came out of the shadows and was like, hey, we did this for this, which to me is about the closest we might get to an official confirmation that they were actually working on it all this time. I mean, people can, yes, you look at the credits, in the TV, when they roll across the screen, you'll see their names, but they weren't listed as hair or makeup. They were listed as like creative production designer or something. Like they were given sort of a nebulous title. Yeah, it wasn't official like makeup, or hair. It was, that they had whatever. And so I'm kind of like, all right, that's a thing. So I think, that the absence of Matthew, the loss of Lucian, Delta and Raven coming in, it all was part of a blend of this thing, this environment. And maybe it was bound to happen, because the reality is, we're looking at a show now that has gotten so big. I mean, Ru had, gotten an award. Now they're gunning for another award. I think, VH1 stepping in for the distribution is part of that, media game, quote unquote, in Hollywood about more eyeballs, more whatever. So I'm curious to see how it plays out, because Ru has said for many years that drag can never be mainstream. And yet I feel like, we're
being mainstreamed.
Yep.
Right. Like you may think that drag as an art form can never be mainstream, but damn near everything else about it has been.
Yeah.
And she's even openly talked about, Lip Sync for Your Life has been turned into, the lip sync battle show. She's talked about appropriation of, drag culture, which the drag community appropriates things from other cultures, mostly people of color. And, I mean, that's interesting to me as a concept that, this stuff is being like borrowed or taken or whatever. So I don't know how the next season will come. What I would really love is for the 10th season, which is kind of an anniversary milestone mark, that they just shake the fuck out of it and like go in directions nobody's expecting. You know what I mean? Like, a runway challenge where you have to actually be disabled. I mean, just do things that really are pushing things in other ways, like lube wrestling during your lip sync. I mean, just, like really kind of make it ugly, because that's, in a way, that's what drag is. And that's a little concern that I have, that as the seasons go, it gets progressively more, like we talked about before, about fashion. Do you know what I mean? About looks, about this, about your makeup, about your nails, about your hair. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, all of that's kind of important, but I think there's a real struggle between like what is artistic and what is, breaking boundaries, and what is, what is non-traditional, and what is, opening doors or whatever. And yet people nitpick the fuck out of, all I heard all season long was, where the fuck is RuPaul's upper lip? I was like, really? Really? It's the least of my concerns where the hell her lips are.
Yeah.
I don't think Trinity and Sharon and the rest of them have taken all the, the Botox or the filler away that she can't get a lip if she wanted one. Come on.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Yeah, there are closing thoughts, because this is pretty much it. And then we got a finale that's coming up.
Who do you guys think is gonna win? Who do you think is gonna win, and who do you want to win?
Oh.
Well, I said mine last week, and I kind of feel the same way now. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel Shay is going to win. I want Peppermint to win. I've loved. I think Peppermint's story is very genuine and authentic. It's very modern without being, but still, owns to the classic, drag kind of aesthetic. I think I took a shine to her. She looked beautiful at the Reunited. She looked beautiful in this episode, but at the same time, I can't get over the fact that Shay has done so well. Won several challenges. She was in the bottom once. We do know that. But I think she did it all. She's a great performer. She's a great entertainer. What can there's only so I don't think there's much she could have not done. So that's my feeling.
Chop to win.
Wow.
I'm abstaining from giving my
Oh, you're 9.
I know too much. That's why I can't say anything.
Okay.
Interesting. The reason why I had to laugh is because in our live chat for the video, I don't know if the rest of my co-hosts have seen this yet, but Mellow Mike says, I want Kim Kardashian to win so that millions of young girls will grow up to risk their lives having surgery to look plastic.
Someone else who has been in the media recently for doing, or allegedly doing blackface, but she was just really tan.
Mm.
Are you talking about me?
I'm talking about Kim Kardashian.
Okay, because I've gotten a lot of flack from people after Tidal Wave bitching about how tan I am.
God.
I'm sorry, you still look
dark.
pasty to me.
I'm sorry. Are you?
In this light right now, you look normal.
I look
Whatever.
normal. Anyway, let's move on.
You do not look the tan that you're supposed to look. Yes, Mellow Mike, I was aware that you're being sarcastic, which is why I put up the shade fan, because I thought it was funny. But interesting. So Brady's abstaining. Chester, do you have a
Okay, so me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want you to win?
I would like Sasha to win because I think she's true to her brand. She's done really well in all of her challenges. And I love, love, love her artistic take on her drag. It is a disconnect from everybody else's. And I would love to see that type of drag become more prominent. Like out of every season I've ever seen, there's only a select few of drag queens that I've been like, wow, if I ever get the chance to see that person live, I want to do it. it's been Bob the Drag Queen, Alaska. I would love to see Alyssa. I just haven't had the chance to. And Sasha.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I think she's performing in Louisville.
When?
I can't remember now. I keep seeing the.
I think she is as well. Bianca's performing tomorrow night, and I'm sad that I can't go.
Oh, I wouldn't be able to go to that. But anything past like August, I would consider.
Let me look, but I don't think it's in August. I think it's. Oh, look at that! Nina Bonita Brown's going to be there July 7th.
Yeah, I have no desire to see her.
I'm good.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Nina's great. I would go see her, but it's not like a driving force to me. Like, I would actually pay money to take a trip to New York City to see Sasha perform.
Gosh, I'll see if I can find it. Anyway.
So Chester, you think Sasha, you feel Sasha, you would like Sasha to win. Who do you think is going to win?
Sasha.
All right. That answers that question.
Okay. So I'll go last in who I think who will win and who I want to win. Who I would like to win because they potentially could change the landscape, for a better reference, is Sasha. She is artistic. The videos that I've seen of her, and I know this is very biased because I haven't necessarily seen videos of the other 4 or 3 out of 4. I think Sasha just has a creative eye and takes things in a different direction and really is, yes, very cerebral and, thinks things through and wants to have a message with something. And that's not necessarily everybody's cup of tea. But that being said, I think that I would like to see where she takes things. Also, she kind of made a comment, remember, in her closing thoughts about she thinks that, that the future of drag is yet to be known and that in ways it should be breaking molds and kind of pushing down doors and that kind of stuff. And this kind of, yeah, I'll get to that in a second. And then in terms of who I think is going to win, who's actually going to win, I think it will quite possibly go to Shay because I think that she has put forward the most consistent, concise, check all the boxes, add all the points, out of the competition. If that's exactly what we're gonna do that. I don't know though. I don't feel that Shay is bringing anything revolutionary to the stage. I don't think that she's really kind of pushed any boundaries or made me really go, whoa, all right, there's something different.
You're right. I will agree with you there. However, we haven't really seen it on Drag Race. We've seen bits and pieces of it, say from Milk, but he didn't go very far.
Sadly.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because the thing I wanted to talk about is for those of you that have been around Cubs Out Loud for a while, number of years, one of our previous co-hosts, Eric, on Facebook had kind of made a comment about the Drag Race finale and was basically so after watching the reunion, can no one win? Thanks. And I don't think he was being shady. He was just kind of he basically feels that that the Reunited didn't make anybody look good.
Yeah.
Nobody, it didn't really change positioning. You know what I mean? If there was a final racehorse kind of round or whatever, nobody really shifted. That being said, I said that I think 3 of them, would put on a good show if they were to win. One of them is more artistic, and that's Sasha, as I was saying. I think one would be more traditional as far as dance and entertainment with good looks, and I think that's Shay. One would be, potentially a blend of polish, poise, and provide some titillation. And I think that's Trinity. She comes from the pageant, competition background. And so she really likes things to be complete. She likes focusing on details. She likes a good presentation. So she will not be sloppy, so to speak. At least that's not expected of her. So to her, it's it's going to be a package and she'll have it all put together. And then, the 4th one I think is, I said more representational of what I call traditional 80s, 90s drag. And And I don't know if that's really going to make a comeback in the scene. I think that the drag community has a trajectory, like it kind of keeps going in a certain direction. And sometimes it jumps fast and other times it's real slow as a crawl. But I don't really see things flipping back to a previous time per se. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I don't feel like Peppermint ever kind of put something new out there.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense to anybody.
No, it makes
But-
I kind of know where you're going with that.
So that's ultimately, I think it will go to one, and I kind of want to go it to the other. But then again, I could be completely wrong, and then, fuck all. Trinity might have won, and that's why she was so ballsy in the Reunited. Because she was just like, she's like, I got this, bitches. Fuck all y'all. Like, I'll say whatever I want. I don't know.
Now that would make sense.
Not. Yeah, I think there's too many variables, too much not known per se. In the end.
All right. We'll find out next
Good deal.
week.
All right. Yeah, in literally days, all that'll be coming together. So that being said, there's plenty of ways to get in touch with us. If you want to, you can go visit our website, which is cubsoutloud.com. If you want to email us, that's super easy. Just type up cubsoutloud@gmail.com. You can also leave us a voicemail if you want. Give us a ring-a-ding. We'll play the message on the show. You can call us at 361-COL-TALK. That's 361-265-2855. Sorry, 8255. And then, of course, all the social media type stuff, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, type in Cubs Out Loud, all one word. If you want to, if you're of the bear community persuasion and you want to interact with other folks, you can go to bearunderground.net and join the COL group over there and say hello. And when it comes to the podcast, you can go to iTunes, give us a thumbs up, Stitcher Radio, all that kind of stuff. Rate us, give compliments because we like them. If you want to get in touch with any of us, you can find me pretty much anywhere online as GARBEAR73. That's GareBear73.
You can find me as Theater Cub 79 on Bear Underground, Tumblr, Growler, and Facebook. Or you can find me as Pup_Umbra on Twitter.
You can find me on Tumblr, Twitter under the name The Pup Up There, or various bear dating sites across the net under the name Pup, Shutter, or Cupcake76. And my knee is pretty good. I'm back to sucking dick.
What the hell?
Y'all see what I did there?
Yes.
I don't get it, but
I was quoting Eureka when Rue said,
Yeah.
"How's your head?"
oh god.
I said the first part of his phrase at the beginning of the episode, and I finished it with the last.
Yeah.
Crack my fan. Warp.
Claps. And you can find me on various social media websites as Pup Tibbers or Ragnarok Cub.
All right. That said, we're going to exit this show with our outro that's been for season 9, which is part of the song Kitty Girl from RuPaul's album American. You can buy it on iTunes.
While you listen to our show.
That's so true. Oh, technical difficulties yet again. Yay. I didn't finish my cocktail. Oh my God, it's the end of the show.
I finished mine. Like, I literally have none left.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good one, y'all.
Until next week.